Hello everyone, the third eyes is taking you to see the world. A prophet is an individual who performs the vital function of mediating the interaction between the divine and the other people. People typically envision prophecy as communicating some essential information by the divine with other people via a prophet that would otherwise be impossible to convey ordinarily without a prophet. From a philosophical viewpoint, prophecy is interesting for all the apparent reasons, involving the fact that it gives rise to intriguing queries about divine communication and knowledge, the nature of time, human freedom, and human language. Unlike apologists or theologians, philosophers hardly debate about who has prophesied what and whether a provided prophecy proved itself to be a true one or not. Instead, they were preferably discussing ideal scenarios, where they can vividly identify the abstract issues. Who was Nostradamus? Michel de Nostredame, 1503 to 1566, was a very renowned physician and astrologer of France. He started practicing his medicine in Agen in the 1530s, that too despite not only never obtaining a degree in medicine, but also seemingly having been thrown out of medical school. In 1544, he shifted to Ceylon, the city where he earned fame for his unprecedented medical remedies during the outbreak of plague at Lyon and Aix in 1546–47. He started to make prophecies in about 1547, published in a book named Centuries in 1555. His work involved rhymed quatrains classified in hundreds. Every set of 100 was termed a century. At that time, astrology was at heights, and an extended second edition, attributed to the King of France, appeared in the year 1558. A few of his prophecies later appeared to be justified. His reputation became so fortified that he was summoned to meet France's various royal and elite personalities at that time. Nostradamus was hired as physician in ordinary by Charles IX in the year 1564. His prophecies were the target to many commentaries. Unlike the widespread credence, however, they were never accursed by the Assembly of the Index, the Roman Catholic Church's committee, to examine manuscripts and books properly. Due to their cryptic content and style, the prophecies have continued to give rise to so much controversy. A few of them are perceived by believers to have prospected actual events of history that happened since his time, including some aspects of the 18th century French Revolution. Meanwhile, the other ones that have no exact meaning are thought by some to foretell the events that have not taken place yet falsely. Nostradamus published his book of 942 quatrains in 1955, which predicted reputed future occurrences. The observers have witnessed a few of his future predictions proven correct following the world's real-life happenings. But in reality, most of his prophecies are hard to translate, and they are so unclear that they cannot point out enough of the valuable information to prospect future happenings. Some famous prophecies of Nostradamus. Some of the famous predictions made by Nostradamus are explained as follows. The demise of Henry II. Prophecy. The young lion will overcome the older one. On the field of combat in a single battle, he will pierce his eyes through a golden cage. 2 wounds made 1, and then he dies a cruel death. What happened in reality? In 1559, French King Henry II, Elder I, made up an alignment with Joust Gabriel, the Comte de Montgomery, younger lion, who happened to be his 6 years junior. They arranged this tournament for the celebration of the coming wedding ceremony of the daughter of the king. Montgomery's angling suddenly inclined during their decisive pass, burst through the king's visor, which was poorly secured. Resultantly, the splintered his eyes as the Nostradamus predicted it. In the esteemed Journal of Neurosurgery, James Goodrich and Camilla Dowling wrote that the immensely bleeding king was conscious for some time, and could also take up a few steps with a stumbling gait. But the fragments from Montgomery's lance had penetrated deep into the eye of the king, the temple, and throat. Despite the royal surgeon's most professional efforts, Henry II went through seizures, unbearable pain, and fragmentary paralysis, and then died a painful death after 11 days in bed. The French Revolution. Prediction. From the enslaved populace, songs, chants and demands. While princes and lords are held captive in prisons. These will result in the future by headless idiots. Be received as divine prayers. What happened? Beginning from the Bastille storming of 1789, the French Revolution witnessed the formation of a new republic and the full stop to the monarchy. The Third Power took hold of Paris and afflicted their demands and requirements on the French royalty. Eventually, the revolution turned out to be bloody. Commoners and nobles alike were labeled as the traitors to the upcoming course, and then at the guillotine, they were beheaded mercilessly. Britannica stated that almost 17,000 persons were killed during this process, whereas about 10,000 people died in various jails. Those stats include all of the victims of the then French Republic, not only the aristocrats. Adolf Hitler. Prophecy. Beasts ferocious with hunger will cross the rivers. The more significant part of the battlefield will be against Hitler. Into a cage of iron will the Great One be drawn. When the child of Germany observes nothing. And from the depths of the west of Europe, a young child will be born of poor people. He who by his tongue will seduce a significant troop. His fame will increase towards the realm of the East. What followed? Adolf Hitler was born on April 20, 1889. He belonged to Austria, Western Europe. Hitler belonged to a middle-class family, not to say the impoverished one. Adolf Hitler rose to power and fame because of his exceptional oratory skills, like Nostradamus, a seducing tongue. Hitler started one of the most significant wars to date, World War II, by marching towards Poland. To elaborate further, Nostradamus used the word Hister and not the Hitlers. Some supporters of the Nostradamus even believe that Hitler is misspelled as Hister. But as a matter of fact, it is the Latin terminology used for the Danube. The Great Fire Outbreak of London. Prospection. The blood of the will commit a fault at London. Burnt through lightning of 23's the 6. The ancient lady will fall from her high place. Several of the same sex will be killed. What followed? The quatrain, as mentioned above, is mostly linked with the annihilating Great Fire of London. Concerning the date, 20 times 3 is equal to 60. By adding 6 to that, we get 66, the year 66. London's massive three-day fire started on September 2, 1666. This massive blaze was not caused by lightning anyway. An arid and hot summer and a spark in Thomas Farriner's bakery on the Pudding Lane caused the multiple fire breaks. According to the data researched by the Smithsonian Magazine, hundreds or perhaps thousands of people lost their precious lives to the fire. These researches even did not consider the deaths of the middle class and peasants at that time. As regarded by the same sect segment of the quatrain, London's people accursed the conflagration on the Dutch and the Catholics, and a considerable number of attacks and lynchings ensued as the great city smoldered, the British Broadcasting Corporation reported. But the including of the same SEC are stated in conjunction with the ancient lady, that could be accurately interpreted for referring to the great city, London itself. This future prospection is among the weaker prophecies made because it is mostly quite a glitch to interlink the historical happening of the Great Fire of London and the words of Nostradamus. The bombardment of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Prophecy. Near the gates and within 2 cities. There will be scourges the like of which was never seen. Famine within plague, people put out by steel. Crying to the great immortal God for relief. What followed? At the end of World War II, the United States of America dropped 2 horrific atomic nuclear bombs on the 2 glorious cities of Japan, Nagasaki, and Hiroshima. This annihilating bombing resulted in the unconditional surrender of Japan. The Americans destroyed the 2 cities mentioned, and thousands of the attack survivors were subjected to severely harmful radiation poisoning. As a result of the war, Japan also had to go through a food scarcity crisis, as mentioned in Nostradamus's prophecy, as the famine within the plague. The assassinations of Bobby Kennedy and John F. Kennedy. Prophecy. The great man will be struck down in the day by a thunderbolt. An evil deed foretold by the bearer of a petition. According to the prediction, another falls at night time. Conflict at Reims, London, and a pestilence in Tuscany. What followed? John Kennedy, the president, great man, got many death threats, the petition, throughout his being in the presidential authority. While visiting Dallas dated November 22, 1963, he was gunned down there, Thunderbolt. What followed? John Kennedy, the president, great man, got many death threats, the petition, throughout his being in the presidential authority. While visiting Dallas dated November 22, 1963, he was gunned down there, Thunderbolt. The assassination of the great president devastated and shocked the entire nation. Later on, the assassinated president's brother was killed immediately after midnight on June 5, 1968. To put in Nostradamus' words, another falls at night time. The conflict in London and Reims and sickness in Tuscany cannot be linked with the president and brother's assassination. September 11, 2001. Prophecy. Earth-shaking fire from the center of the earth. It will cause tremors around the new city. Two great rocks will war for a long time. Then Arethusa will redden a new river. What followed? On September 11, 2001, the morning came up with the two massive towers, two great rocks, in Nostradamus' words. The unfortunate incident took place at the World Trade Center building in New York, New City, after the terrorists from the Al-Qaeda group crashed the hijacked passenger aircrafts into the mighty tower. His prediction regarding the fire from the center of the earth does not connect with any 9/11 incident. Nostradamus and COVID-19. Various social media posts claim that a French astrologer predicted the COVID-19 outbreak in the 16th century. They claim the prediction to have been mentioned in his famous book Les Prophéties, The Prophecies. Whereas various fact-checking organizations and critiques have counter-verified the speculation and have failed to see any such writing in Nostradamus' prophecies. Nostradamus in 2021. Nostradamus also predicted the outbreak of some horrible occurring in the year 2021. He wrote about a long trail of sparks up in the sky composed of fire, which could imply that a huge asteroid might strike the Earth. NASA has prospected that huge asteroids are expected to collide with the Earth in the coming few years. A few of the believers of his prophecies have interpreted his alerts about two brothers torn apart as a possible indication that World War III might begin between two big allied countries. However, he also pointed out that it will get a start after the demise of a great world leader. Nostradamus' star of fame and acknowledgement did not fade down even after his demise in 1566. His valuable and highly regarded pieces of work have continued to be an unavoidable attraction of the adherents who felt a connection between his prophecies and the earth-shattering incidences, such as the bombardment of Hiroshima Nagasaki and the rise of Adolf Hitler. Like horoscopes, the predictions and prophecies seem to be unclearly worded, hence subject to the reader's biases and interpretation and critiques. With the start of the year 2012, the prophecies made by Nostradamus began to be co-opted as a shred of sound evidence suggesting the end of the world to be imminent, completely negating the fact that the book did not mention the end of the world at all, let alone the year 2012. The prophecies expanded and retold by Nostradamus figured out vastly infamous culture in the modern times, the 20th and the 21st century. Along with being the target of many books, non-fiction and fiction, his life has been picturized in various videos, documentaries, and films. Even today, his life continues to be an exciting subject by multiple media outlets and their production houses. Thank you for your likes, subscribe, and share. If you have any thoughts, please leave us comment below. Goodbye.